Hey everybody, we're here at Quinn's Music with Mr. Andy Kirby. He's gonna talk to you guys about some repairs and maintenance stuff on several guitars. I'd like to wait and see if anybody jumps on before we get too far into it, because I'm sure there's gonna be some great information.
Go back and watch it, I suppose, later.
It's true.
Watch.
It's true.
Let's start with some general info, I suppose.
Okay.
I guess mostly, at least in the case of this guitar, we're talking about setup at the moment. And a lot of people know what setup is, especially if they've ever dealt with me or bought a guitar from us, because we stress it quite a lot. It's probably the most important thing that an instrument needs, and it needs it relatively frequently. So guitars don't come from the factory ready to go, and they often get out of whack, and there are a lot of adjustments that are done on instruments, really all stringed instruments, and they all work together and they combine to make it play comfortably and stay in tune the right way. So this is one that's a nice USA Strat that we have for sale with the Shawbucker humbucker in the bridge. It's a really cool guitar, and I'm just going through like we do with every guitar that we sell, which is something that is pretty unique to us that other stores don't do that I've ever seen, and that's we set them all up for free. So a lot of stores offer that when you buy your guitar for an extra $60 range, and there are some that don't at all, like the internet. So obviously can't fine-tune them from there. And they, whether it's a $100 guitar or a $2,000 guitar, they all need some adjustment when they come in. So what I'm talking about, just to give a brief idea, an overview of set adjustments, we talk about the truss rod adjustment in the neck and getting that to the right angle and the right amount of relief. And so I start with that, and I won't go too into detail with different measurements and things, but every adjustment has measurements and things that I look for. So I start by reading the neck, and this one I've already done that on, and then I go through and we adjust the height and radius back here at the saddles. And so generally one measurement that they use at the Fender Custom Shop and in factories is we're going to fret the first fret, or you could just put a capo on it, and that eliminates the height of the nut from the equation, and it acts as though we're just fretting the strings at the first fret, and I measure at the 17th fret. The distance between the top of the fret and the bottom of the string is generally going to be about 4/64ths. And on the bass side, a lot of us, myself especially, tend to taper that just a hair, so it'll be just a bit higher than 4/64ths on the bass side, and then it tapers down with the radius of the fretboard, which in this case is 9.5 inches, and we go through and we taper it down to about 4/64ths on the treble side, so just slightly lower on the treble side, but still matching the radius of the fretboard. So that's really important, and it makes the instrument play really nicely and comfortably, and all the strings will be the same distance from the frets. There are some variations on that. Some people set their bridge up a little flatter than the neck itself, so that it'll match a flat strumming pattern. You might hit the strings a little more evenly. There are some variations there, but that's kind of generally where we start. I go through and I have a gauge here for measuring the height of the nut, and I go through then and we make sure that the strings are the right height above the first fret in each nut slot. And for those that don't know they exist or haven't seen them, there are lots of specially made tools and files and things for this sort of thing. So these are gauged files, and for each different thickness of nut slot. And so go through and we adjust the height of those and file them at the right angle and to the right height, so that the strings ride at about 20 to 25 thousandths above the fret. Again, that's kind of the general starting point. Some folks will go a little bit lower than that. Don't generally go much higher than that, or you risk having intonation issues. Your guitar can be perfectly in tune here, but if you have to push the string down further to get to your fret, or to fret the note, if you have to push it further than it's designed to go, then the note is going to pull sharper. The more tension you put on it, the more you push the string down, the sharper the note gets. It's pretty simple physics, I suppose. And so then we go back here and we also adjust, this has already been done, but on a Stratocaster style guitar you also adjust the tremolo and just the spring tension back here to see where the bridge floats and if you want it to float. So you set where the bridge is going to rest. That's actually done early on. So I've got the neck set, I've got the bridge set, so I'm going through now and adjusting the saddle pieces, and then once that stuff is all done, the height adjustment stuff, we go through and we set the pickup height for a nice equal balance and volume between all the pickups, or you can customize it to your liking. There are some variations on that as well. There's also certain sweet spots and different things that people try to do with the sounds and the balance between the pickups. So that is one of the things that we set as well. And then of course the intonation, which is the screws back here that adjust the length of our saddle and also the overall length of our string or our scale. And so the intonation is done with a nice strobe tuner, and we go through and we set and we make sure that the harmonic at the 12th fret is exact same as the fretted note at the 12th fret. And you do that by adjusting the length of the saddle, and that basically ensures that your guitar can be in tune as well as possible as you work your way up and down the neck. Because if one of these are not right, long story short, your guitar will not play in tune as you move up and down the neck. It's the simplest way to explain it, I suppose. But those are the prime points of setup. Occasionally you have to go through and do some other things, like adjust the tilt and the neck. So the other subtle things, but that's really the main part of what really makes a guitar play the right way, and it's really important. It makes all the difference. And we offer that at a pretty good price here too. So if you have guitars out there that you would like checked out, even, it doesn't cost anything to bring it in and have me look it over and give you some feedback on kind of where it sits and what you could do differently and what could be improved. And again, this is something that we do on every guitar that we sell for no extra charge. So in a lot of cases you actually come out ahead, you know what I mean, buying here in the long run, if you're going to get your guitar playing the right way. So. Any questions?
None so far. No one's posted a question yet. We haven't been live in a while though, so it's going to take people a minute to see that we're... Jason's watching. Hi, Jason! It tells me when people pop up.
So once you get everything perfectly dialed in, you get some lighter fluid or aerosol of your choice and just blast it with some flame. Get your lighter, your favorite lighter, and then you make it look old and grungy, and then it'll be a perfect Strat. It costs extra to add mojo to your guitar.
There you go.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and just keep working on some string height stuff and adjusting the saddle height.
Alrighty, well, I think that will probably conclude this little mini episode. Thanks, Andy, for giving us some great information on guitar maintenance and setup. We're gonna come back to you guys here in a little bit with some interesting self-done repairs.
All right, we've got some fun stuff. I will add one more little side note here, and that is touch on the idea that this is something that has to be done frequently, because obviously once these adjustments are done, a lot of them don't have to be done again. Sometimes they'll move a little bit from time to time. However, a couple of these things will fluctuate with humidity, temperature changes, and so especially in Michigan, it kind of goes back to the humidity thing again. The neck has a tendency to shrink and swell when moisture leaves it and enters. We've got unfinished wood here, but even unfinished necks, I mean, they're going to move around from time to time. So the truss rod adjustment especially is one that needs to be done, 2 to 4 times a year, easily, and checked regularly. And also, anytime you change your tuning or your string gauge, if you want to try a heavier or lighter string, all of these adjustments that are set to a certain tension and balance to work together, they now change. And so that's another reason that you may want to have your guitar checked out or dialed in again if you change, if you're going into a drop tuning or you want to try a different string gauge or any of the above.
Alrighty, well thanks Andy, and we will be back with you guys here shortly for some interesting home repair situations that Andy will talk to you guys about here shortly. So thanks for watching, and we'll be back with you guys here in a few minutes.